fast, yet also so strong as to defeat them while running, and that makes Arzam happy, so he gives him the name Tank, because he's a little white bear, truly strong. Elsewhere, we find Chaha swimming, while she is admired by the others for how beautiful she is. Yet she is a bit upset, because she remembers that when she was talking with her boss, the red-haired man complained to her about why the people were not being publicly informed about the salted ants. He told her that it was simply an order from the association, but even so, they had to become the strongest and largest guild in the country, so as to assume those responsibilities. And yes, because of all this, our blonde girl walks along deeply thoughtful. Returning with Zom, she mentions that upon obtaining this key, she was worried that this place might be an S-rank dungeon, but it seems to her more that the demons are only B-rank. However, the higher the floors they climb, the stronger those demons become, so she decided to focus on the demons that carry the permits, making it easier to advance along the path. Along the way, she also evolves her ruler's hand to level 2, and while she keeps fighting, she wonders just how strong she will be when she reaches the final floor. In the same way, she fulfills the task of obtaining 10,000 demon souls, now encountering the Lord of the Lower Floors, Vulcan the Avaricious, from floor number 49. Outside the house of New Supra, Lord An and his assistant were waiting, thinking that they had come for nothing, so even he wonders where he might be now. Jingu asks his warriors to leave the great chief to him alone. They obey, and thus the tremendous battle begins. For his part, our protagonist, upon looking at the fat demon sitting there, wonders how long he plans to stay like that, since if he does not move, he will start the attack. At that moment, when he blinks just a little, the record takes advantage of it to strike the soldiers of our protagonist. This enrages Arzam, and he responds with a tremendous blow. Seeing this, Vulcan runs to the side, shouting as he uses the same ability as Cerberus. Then he launches himself to attack our boy with everything he has. He asks Iron for the shield, but even though he defends himself, the wretch lands continuous blows. He tries to create an opening by going for his back. However, Vulcan counterattacks, and he barely dodges it. Because of this, he decides to first restrain those strange movements, smashing him into some buildings. Taking advantage of the moment, he pulls out another dagger, and since he has him blinded by the dust, he manages to land such a critical blow that he finally eliminates him, obtaining the fragment of the World Tree. Now we move on to another panel, because Danso has finally arrived, and upon seeing the guy, he cannot believe that there is a magical beast that can speak. Even so, Sunan and Wang tells him that if he does not believe it, he can run DNA tests or whatever he wants. Danso ignores him, since he is quite annoyed because they called him at the last minute. Then the guy asks him how much humans know about gates and magical beasts. Danso does not understand why he is asking that, but the old man keeps talking anyway, because the worst catastrophic force has finally awakened, and its goal here is to prevent that disaster from occurring. To Danso, it sounds like nonsense, and he asks him how many hunters he thinks there are in the world now. Sunan points out that many people will become powerless before that force, since they will only go to be devoured and blown apart. Danso, for his part, is surprised that a magical beast like him has a name just like humans, as well as a wife and 2 children. At that moment, he sees something interesting in the document and asks him if he still remembers his son's name. The old man replies that the name of his dear son is Jingu. Danso smiles, and Sun notices the murderous aura of this man, who, rising from the table, tells him that if he has any last words for his son, he should go tell them to him in hell, because he is already dead. This obviously awakens Sun's power, starting a fight that ends in a complete disaster. Yes, both were S-rank, but despite Wandan, so being a high-level hunter, we see that he was defeated by Sun Jingu's father in just a single second. Returning now to the hunter's son, who, along with his shadow army, surprises the enemy by appearing above him, he reminds him that this battle is one-sided, and since he knows that he surely did not expect this, he asks him whether immortal magical beasts also feel fear. Having said that, he eliminates him in the blink of an eye, because the enemy he defeated is Metis, the Guide of Souls. He then rests for a while, since his food has already run out, and that is as far as he can go for now. He now finds himself on floor 75, knowing that he still has 25 more to go. Even so, the harvest is quite abundant, showing us that he obtained the necklace from the skeleton he killed a moment ago, as well as an earring from the great chief of floor 50. At that moment, he looks at his system, and from what he notices, he knows that there should be another magical beast at a boss level. He checks a red orb that he also obtained, although he knows it is useless to him, thinking instead of the mages, since with this their magical power would double. But something more important lies before him, and that is that this time he chose the random loot box they gave him as a reward for completing his mission. It is revealed that he thought he would no longer be able to obtain it, and he even came to feel somewhat regretful. But now he realizes that after all the waiting, it is a key. When he checks it, not even its information appears. Not even when and where it should be used. But since he knows that this is not the purpose of this journey, he forgets the matter, remembering what truly matters. For he obtained the fragment of the world tree by killing the avaricious Vulcan on floor 50, and the water of the Echo Forest after killing the Guide of Souls. Thus, of the 3 materials for the elixir of life that he needs, he has already obtained 2, meaning that now he only has 1 more element left to save his mother. He turns around and leaves, since the next time he comes here, he will obtain it. Upon exiting the portal, he knows that the final ingredient for the elixir of life that he lacks is the purified blood of the Demon King. Then it dawns on him that despite how strong he has become, his official rank is still E, realizing that this prevents him from participating in high-rank raids. Therefore, he knows that from now on he has to stop pretending, deciding to undergo a reevaluation, since after all, he cannot hide his power forever. The next day, at the rank evaluation site, we also see Anne's companion, who is obviously analyzing the people he might recruit today. In his search, he quickly finds our protagonist and calls Baek-Yun-ho, and obviously this redhead leaves his car immediately to stand beside our black-haired boy. A man nearby was very worried, and for that same reason, he wanted to obtain a good rank to earn money. The one in front reassures him, saying that if he turns out to be D rank or higher, recruiters from some guild will talk to him. Of course, all is well as long as he is not E rank, which does not look very good, as he already knows. He is called, as it is now his turn to be evaluated. He tells the lady his name, and she explains that the way to measure his rank will be the same as always, asking him to place his hand on that black crystal. Our Jingu complies, but the system throws an error at the lady. Even though she repeats the process again and again, it remains the same. Then the chief evaluator arrives, and upon seeing the error, he realizes that it is not that the machine is broken, but that the calculation is not possible, because the amount of magical power exceeds the limit of the measuring device, confirming that our protagonist is the 10th S rank in this country. Outside the place, the red S rank asks Hin-chul about the winged ants. The blonde explains that the research team is dissecting them, and they are also comparing tissues and magical residue with past samples, but they need more time to corroborate the results. Hearing this, Choi says that many things have been happening lately, mentioning the Red Gate raid, but above all, that a stranger joined that White Tiger raid. He kindly asks about the identity of the subject. However, the blonde mentions that although he was there, he did not stay until the end. At that moment, they hear a lot of commotion in the lobby. Jin-chul informs him that he will go check it out, and the redhead decides to accompany him. Inside the evaluation hall, we see how everyone is very surprised. Yes, gossip spreads very quickly here. On his side, the chief evaluator asks Jin-woo to come back in 3 days, because their machine cannot measure his power. An's companion thinks of approaching Jingu before anyone else, but then everyone is distracted when they see that Choi Jong-in himself is also there, recognized as the master of the Hunters Guild. His presence is also noticed by our Jingu, who knows that this redhead is the best user of fire magic, and not only that, but he is also called the ultimate weapon. Furthermore, his former nickname was based on his, because let us remember that our protagonist was called the weakest weapon of humanity. From Choi's point of view, feeling Jingu's aura, he understands that he is the reason for the commotion. He introduces himself and invites him to join his guild. However, Sun Jingu ignores him, since he is in a great hurry, and thus everyone sees how the ultimate weapon was rejected. With his head lowered, he thinks that it was because fame went to his head. In just a moment, our black-haired boy disappears from the place. Baek-Yun-ho also arrives, which seems strange to Choi, since he knows that the White Tiger Guild is very far away. The fact that the guild master himself rushed over leads him to conclude that this Sun Jingu is very valuable, so he simply leaves the place. Baek looks annoyed, because the last person he wanted to find out has found out. Later that night, we find our black-haired boy accompanying his mother, and he asks her to please wait just a little longer. He leaves her room, where Jin-chul is waiting. Jin-chul admits that he was blind for not seeing his power, But since he belongs to the only department that controls hunters, the supervision area, it is his task to watch him. He emphasizes that it is not because he is a criminal, but he knows he cannot do anything against S-rank hunters. Today, there is someone who wants to see him, introducing him to the president of the Hunters Association himself, Go Gun-hee. Jingu agrees to talk elsewhere. There, he is congratulated by the president, who informs him that another reevaluation is of little use. Jingu does not quite understand, so the old man asks if they asked him to come back to be examined again. Sun confirms it. Then President Go explains that it is so that people like him could contact him, because despite the size of the association, it does not have too many excellent hunters, since many focus on the money and honor of large guilds. He also highlights that Mr. Wu Jinchul is one of the best hunters the association has, being A rank. He gets straight to the point, asking our black-haired boy to join them, promising him an important position in the association. Sun asks the reason for offering him so much, and the old man explains that right now, it is not the government that sustains the country, but the 5 main guilds, which maintain a delicate balance among themselves. If Jingu were to join one of them, that balance would be broken. For that reason, the Hunters Association must become a 6th power in the country, capable of controlling the rest. At least for him, Jingu has the power to make all of this a reality. Once again, he asks what he thinks of the deal. Sun mentions that it is not a bad offer, while in his mind he knows that a position in the association would guarantee future promotions, and aside from the government and the media, it is certain that President Go has influence everywhere. Above all, this man was the first S-rank in the country, who despite his 80 years still has a good physique and great magical power. And more importantly, he stands on equal footing with his own power after having leveled up so much. If he accepted his proposal, his life would change. Thus, he gives his answer, apologizing because he has to refuse. Hearing this, President Go understands that Jingu seeks money, but the Shadow Monarch affirms that he wants to fight, stating that his place is in the dungeons. And because he says it with so very much certainty, the old man realizes that the eyes of this young man do not lie, feeling something strange in his chest, which is the desire to fight alongside him. Of course, he would do so if he were 20 years younger. Therefore, he mentions that he cannot force him and understands his decision. Jingu thanks him and informs them that he will leave quickly, since his sister is alone at home. President Go thanks him for his time, watching him leave through the window, while he comments to the blonde that when he learned that not even an S-rank healer could cure his old age, his world collapsed like never before. Then he asks him to cancel all his plans, because today they are going to drink together. Jinchul wants to accompany him, but he says that he will not drink. That seems fine to President Go, who, turning his gaze to our protagonist, asks if he thinks that he himself might also like alcohol. Meanwhile, in Sun Jingu's mind, he is aware that the Hunters Association deals with D-rank dungeons, that is, the lowest ones, which is of no use to him, because he must hurry and grow stronger in order to cure his mother. He tells himself that he cannot stagnate just because he can keep growing. In another hospital, we find Wan Don-su injured, and not only that, but severely beaten. Then the deputy director appears and asks him what can be believed of a loser like him. But the man, going straight to the point, asks if Jin Woo is truly a monster. Don-su responds that he gave him the beating of his life, and it is clear that he is a monster. The deputy director accepts this answer and tells him to focus on recovering and then go to administration once he is discharged. Don-su asks where that man is. The deputy director comments that administration is already looking for him, but even so, he doubts they can catch someone who defeated him. Having said that, he leaves. Don-so knows that this was a humiliating defeat, remembering the last threat given by Sun Jingu's father, which was that he should not approach his family, because he would not be able to escape him, not even by dying. For that reason, he is burning with rage and a desire for revenge, and since he knows where he is headed, he only needs an artifact to crush him alive. On the other hand, we find our protagonist watching online auctions of artifacts, while he explains that these